Hello YouTube, Rocking and Military Antiques here, and I wanted to do another collection update because recently I got quite a bit of stuff. Two of my good friends in the collecting community have decided to downsize, and I was the first person that both of them really contacted about that, and I'm very grateful, I guess, that I was given the opportunity to get the items I'm about to show you. But yeah, here, I'll get right into it. So I bought... This is the first thing that showed up after my last video. This isn't from either of those collections that I just mentioned, but this is a World War I Marine Corps forest green tunic. As you can imagine, these are they're pretty rare. This one slightly less so, because it is, of course, unpatched, with the exception of the threads that once held in the discharge chevron, which is in this pocket, still with the uniform. This one actually is named. It's named to an Arthur Peel. He was from Syracuse, New York, and he actually enlisted the day after the armistice, which I thought was kind of funny. But I didn't really buy it because of the name or anything. I wanted something of substance for my Marine Corps collection, and I'm going to be doing a display at some point soon, and I wanted to have something to represent the Marine Corps at that event. So this is, there for that. Over here we have another uniform. This is one for the Yankee Division. If I can get a good look at that patch there. It's a nice cut wool patch. Discharge chevron down here, and 18 months overseas. This one was Company C of the 101st Engineers. And there's the matching cap that came with it. And there's pants in there. And his putties are right here. I'm going to be putting this one away with some of the other ones that I don't immediately have on display. But this one actually is initialed, but I was unable to find him. One of my friends gave me the roster of the 101st Engineers, his company, and I was unable to find a match, so I'm assuming that this was just a reissue, unfortunately. But here's his corporal patch, which is kind of unique. I don't really see like green sort of patches like this. I don't actually know where this would have really come from, because it also has like the flat bottom, which is not really that common either. But really cool. This one's actually kind of a unique looking uniform. For the pockets look very like kind of long and square to me in comparison to other uniforms. And there's also a dummy collar stitched in here to, I guess, give the impression that they're wearing a collar underneath, or maybe to just keep the wool off their neck. I don't know. Alright, now that I've gotten the uniform out of the way, here's some of my other newest additions. Some unit histories. So this one was kind of random. It was a gift. The person who gave it to me happened to get it on an auction site for like $5. So even though it's beat up, I'd say that there was no money lost there. This one happens to be to Battery C. Battery C of the 148th Field Artillery. They were part of the 76th Division. I think I got that wrong. But I can't remember what division they were a part of, but they did participate in a good number of campaigns. As you can see, they, as a division, had about 18 months overseas, or as a regiment, had about 18 months overseas. I haven't really gotten around to reading this one much, but the next couple I have. This one right here is kind of interesting, because I got it in a lot with the book that's under here. And right after I purchased this one, I happened to get a lead on an item that I'll be buying soon from this exact company, this exact regiment. So this is I guess battalion, but it's Company A of the 102nd Machine Gun Battalion, 26th Division, and you can see their mascot, the bulldog, right there. And the item I'm getting from this company is named, and actually one of the events that the book describes. There's another perspective of that event from the letter I found of the guy who's it's named to, so that's really cool. Next up, another Yankee Division, 101st Machine Gun Battalion. This was the divisional battalion, I believe. So this one was kind of sent wherever they were needed. But the 102nd was specifically for the 51st Brigade, I believe. But I haven't really gotten around to reading this one yet, because there's a lot to get through. And lastly, we have this one, which actually I didn't even plan on getting, but it came with one of the other items. So this one is for the 101st Field Artillery. This is a 1940 print. You can see a nice little map here. 101st Field Artillery, and there's a stamp from the library. I'm not sure if this was actually like just... Well, there's a price tag up there. Alright, I was worried about it being maybe stolen from a library, but the price tag makes me think that it was probably just like from a book sale or something. But the item it came with bears a striking resemblance right there. So this is a helmet from the 101st Field Artillery. This one is in amazing shape. The paint, when it's got glare on it, it's kind of hard to appreciate the art on there, but it's really cool. One thing I kind of find interesting is that they scrubbed all the texture off here, except like where they painted. So maybe they started painting and realized that, hey, we should probably get rid of this. But the logo here is the state of Massachusetts. The kind of boxy area back here is covered up by the Native American head right here. But the hook right there, and then the little piece that connects up to New Hampshire. And this one is named. Let me see if I can... Maybe I don't want to risk it. You might have to just take my word for it. Is named to Frank Crow, and thanks to the MassGov website, I was able to find a photo of Crow, and I posted that with this helmet on my Instagram. But it's one of my new favorite helmets, just based on the logo and the fact that it's named, and I found a picture of the guy and everything. A really cool one. And next up, we have one of my bucket list items that I got from one of my friends' collections. These actually came from the same collection. Right here, we have a German Feldmutz field cap. So this one is actually quite small. There's a paint drip on it right there, so I'm thinking that maybe it was in a shed or something at some point. On the inside, there is no maker's mark, but you can kind of see the that black on the end there. That's not like empty space, that's ink. So that's probably where the maker's mark was. And there's 2 field repairs in here for tears, which is really cool. And right here you have the Imperial German and Prussian cockades. In the front, the enameling on this one is kind of busted, but this one's in pretty good shape. The most common versions of this have a red and green band, red for regular infantry and Jaegers, I believe, and green for reserve, or ersatz. But the black, I think, as far as my research can tell me, is for quote-unquote specialty troops, which includes artillery, engineers, pilots, transport corps. So there's no real specific field, but I think the black just denotes specialty. If I had to guess, this one is probably artillery, because, you know, there's a lot of those compared to the other things that I just mentioned. But obviously I'll never know for sure. But still a very cool item that I was very happy to get my hands on. And next, I will show you another bucket list item that I was very happy to get my hands on right here. We have a British hate belt, gravedigger belt, souvenir belt, whatever you want to call it. These are very cool. I've been kind of keeping my eye out for these, waiting for the right one, and my friend was selling this one, so I jumped right on it and bought it. So this is a British Sam Browne belt, adorned with insignia of a lot of armies, a lot. There's American, British, Belgian, Austro-Hungarian, German, and Russian things on this belt. It may be Italian, because I don't know the origin of this star. I think the Italians used a star like that, but it appears to be silver, and it has a US screwback on it. I have no idea what's up with that one. Some of these things I haven't identified yet, but some of these, like the London Fusiliers right there, French naval artillery, I believe that is. That's just French artillery right there. That's Belgian, I believe. U.S. obviously. And there's some really cool stuff on here. The highlights, though, are the, of course, the German belt buckle, brass one with a sizable dent in it. Right here we have a German button holding in, among other buttons, a 248th Ersatz shoulder board, which is really cool. They fought at the Somme for most of the war when they were activated, as far as I can tell. It seems like in about August of 1918, they were dissolved and attached to other reserve groups because there was like none of them left. And right here is probably the big thing. So this, I'm not actually sure if this is some sort of crime to steal identification off of a dead body. But this is, of course, a German dog tag, and a German dog tag that's been here a while. You can see the change in tone of the leather under there, and it's kind of digging into the back. But this belonged to Lieutenant Alfred von Kupsch. He was from Trier, which I believe was in Prussia. And he was born on October 2nd, 1897. He was a member of the 1st Reserve Battalion, Reserve Jaeger Battalion of the 29th Regiment. I don't know why the JR is there. Like, you would think it'd be Jaeger Regiment, but there is no 29th Jaeger Regiment, from what I can tell. Just a 29th Infantry Regiment, standard infantry. But underneath the 29th Regiment on a German casualty finding site, I did find him. He was killed in action on July 31st, 1917 in Warnetum, Belgium. And that was the first day of the Third Battle of Ypres, if I remember correctly. And he was killed at night during an Australian night raid. 2 battalions of Australians raided the German line. And there's a couple of things on here, as with many of these souvenir belts, where you kind of wonder how they were acquired. Right here is a Russian uniform button, and over here is a Marine Corps button. 2 Marine Corps buttons, actually, a greatcoat and a pocket button. Now, the Army buttons that are on here, like the greatcoat button and everything, I can believe, because they were Army units attached to the British. But I have no idea where he would have gotten Marine Corps stuff. I don't know of any time where the Marines were fighting directly alongside the British where they would have had interaction enough to swap or trade buttons, maybe on occupation. I'm not quite sure, but there's a couple more German things in here. I actually don't know what that one is. A lot of these things I haven't been able to find yet. Australian, Commonwealth, military forces right there. Some really cool stuff on this hate belt. Or gravedigger belt, whatever you want to call it, because hate belt is sort of a controversial name, I guess. It was coined long after the war's end, as far as I can tell, by people who did not fight in the war, so yeah. And next, sort of a simpler item, I suppose, I finally managed to pick up a bayonet for my SMLE. This one is dated, let me see if I can just get it off without hitting something. There we go. This one's dated 1912, July of 1912. Pretty good shape. I got this one for $65, $75 with shipping, so you can't say no to that. I was looking at them on eBay and they're like $150 on there, so I was thinking I'd wait and find a better price, and eventually I did. So lastly, down here we have a small grouping to Eldred Ellis Green, who was from Turner, Maine, who served with the 103rd Field Artillery of the Yankee Division, as you can see right there. And he's got a nice large last name printed right there. I actually had to do a decent bit of research because there were 2 Greens in the 103rd. Eldred was in the supply company, and he was a wagoner. And there was Milburn, who was in Battery D, I think it was. I can't remember. Who was just a regular private. But this was Milburn was from Texas, and this group was purchased in Maine, so I think that narrows it down well enough for me. So this is definitely Eldred's stuff. We have his gas mask bag with the gas mask inside, a yellow filter. His helmet right there, which I'll pull out in a second, and then his cartridge belt. Now the cartridge belt is very interesting because there's sort of an unconfirmed, there's a story about it, not the belt itself, but I found a letter from Eldred writing home from November 24th, 1918, so right after the war ended, detailing his service. And in the letter, he mentions that around the time of the Aisne-Marne counterattacks, he was struck in the hip by a piece of shrapnel. And this might very well be the cut in the belt made by the shrapnel. A friend of mine is actually getting some sort of spray that I guess even the police use to detect if there's blood or hidden blood on things. You sort of mix it into an area and then shine a black light on it and it glows a specific color. But I'm testing it for that. He mentions getting hit in the hip and it going through the money in his pocket. So I'm thinking that's a little too high for this, but it does look like it was sort of coming at a downward angle. So I don't know. Eldred actually was wounded 3 times. Once by the shrapnel in the hip, which I just mentioned. Once when a barn he was storing his mules in collapsed after a shell hit it. Well, he was near it and some debris fell on his leg and broke it. And the 3rd time he was gassed with mustard gas on his legs, and it took him for the rest of the war and some of occupation to recover. He was in immense pain from the letter I heard. This is a British-made shell. The 103rd Field Artillery, distinct from other divisions, used a paper sort of sticker instead of a painted emblem, and unfortunately this one hasn't really survived very well. But you can see the scratch marks from where they filed the texture down to get the sticker to stick better, and inside the liner's in pretty good shape. This is some sort of field repair because the bail busted somehow, which is something I've never seen on one of these helmets, and it was attempted to be repaired with this sort of string, but that also eventually broke. You can see the famous asbestos donut in the top of the liner there, but otherwise this thing's in very good shape. And the sticker I'm trying not to touch too much because it's sort of, if you look at it from the side, you can kind of see there's some space between the helmet and the sticker, so I'm not trying to mess with that as much. That's kind of why it's tucked away. I'll get that to sit better after I end the video. But that's about it, all that I had to show you. Hopefully I'll be getting some more items from these collections soon, because so far I'm very happy with the things that I've picked out. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.